Throwing things, so I think it's fine.
Okay, guys, we have no moderator. That's how brave we are. Okay, so what we'd like to start by saying is that a panel is only as good as the questions that are asked. And the four of us agreed very early on that we didn't just want to talk about ourselves for an hour, because that would be really boring. So we're really hoping that you all have questions to ask us. We have a couple up our sleeves in case you don't, but we are hoping that most of this is interactive and comes from you guys. Okay, that's all to say.
But we are going to talk about ourselves a bit because we work in advertising, we couldn't resist. So, hey, here I am. My name is Jess Greenwood. I'm the VP of Strategy and Partnerships at an agency called RGA. I came at strategy through a slightly different track. I was a teacher, then I was a music producer, then I was a journalist, and then now I do this. And this is, as it turns out, my happy place is being sort of strategy at an agency. One of the things that I think we're going to talk about a little bit today is the fact that the world is changing an enormous amount and strategy is changing along with it. So if you're coming at this from a slightly different direction, one of the things I realized that being a journalist and being a strategist are essentially kind of the same thing. You just have to find a good hook, tell the story in a way that makes people want to read it, and synthesize chaos in kind of interesting ways. So it actually turned out to be a very good spot for me. And as part of this format, they've asked us all to introduce ourselves, and then we're going to talk about a piece of work that we did recently that used strategy in an unusual or interesting way, or used the brief in an interesting way. So I'm going to talk about this one, which is the Nike Apple Watch collab that my team just put out a couple of weeks ago. Now available in stores for the price of $399. It's very well reviewed, so I think we did a good thing. From a brief perspective, RGA has worked with Nike for a long time. It's our longest running client. I think it's 16 years this year. And the way that they brief us is not with a really beautifully created, sort of excellent document with very key objectives. It's more the kind of, right, so we've got this partnership with Apple, what should we do? And then you end up in a room, we call it the room of loud voices, which is always a kind of fun thing to be in, with your team and with your clients from Nike and with your team from RGA, basically battering through the best way to approach this problem. So we had this Apple Watch on the table. We had this scenario, this thing that we had to design. We were like, okay, what should the new Nike experience look like on the Apple Watch? And the insight that we got to very quickly, and it's not really that much of an insight, is that running for most people sucks. Which is at Nike, they'll throw you off campus for that. Do you know what I mean? That's kind of one of the biggest jobs of the strategist is to represent the outside world. And so we were just actually for most people, running kind of sucks. And there are more non-runners in the world than there are runners. So what we could do is we could create the most amazingly pristine, sort of beautiful experience that's about knowing that congratulations, you just beat your 4-minute mile, and congratulations, you just run your second ultramarathon. Or we could design this whole thing to go after the beginners and use this as an on-ramp to running, which is Nike's job, is to make more athletes all the time. So that is a totally different set of design considerations. So what we ended up with is this prompt, which is, are we running today? So every day you get an, are we running today? And it uses different contextual data to be able to give you a little kick. So you've got 2 miles to go before you catch Liz. The other stuff that it does, it responds to weather, it responds to signals around you. Every now and again, LeBron or Kevin Hart or someone like that will show up to be yeah, we're running today, come on, do it, that kind of thing. And then we also put in this additional feature of just do it Sunday. So based on the data that we had from Nike, we know that the most popular run in the entire world is a Sunday 5K. Most people can get it together enough to do a Sunday 5K. Well, depending what happens on Saturday night, but most people get it done enough. So we're okay, that's a good data point, we'll use that as well. So we basically had this totally different set of design considerations. Normally Nike is very sort of performance-oriented, very kind of gritty, very all about bettering yourself. And this is all about inspiration and motivation, which is a totally different way of thinking about design. So we had to put that together, and then on the sort of journalism tip, we had to write a story that we could sell to Mark Parker, who's the CEO. Then we had to write the story that we would sell to Tim Cook, who's the Apple CEO. And just synthesize that in a very, very simple and interesting way. So in terms of a brief, the brief was what should we do? And in terms of an insight, the insight was running sucks. And everything started from there. So these things, I think the thing that I kind of wanted to say about this is this stuff doesn't have to be complicated. Sometimes it's sitting right in front of you. So the insight, more non-runners than runners, it's a totally different set of design considerations. You have to go about at it from a totally different way. And the thing we've also been asked to say one thing that we learned from this process that I think we're going to talk about a lot, but the thing that we were going to say, the thing that I have found most useful in any kind of briefing process or any kind of strategic creative collaboration is you will have tools in your arsenal, but the more rigorously you adhere to a process that you think ought to be followed, the less successful your work will be. So your job, whether you're creative, whether you're a strategist, is to blow up the process that you have and figure out the way that you can be helpful instead of being clever. So if that means being the most helpful person in the room of loud voices, or it means coming with things proactively because you think they might help, that is the smartest thing that you can do in advertising right now, is just figure out how you can be helpful instead of being clever. So that's my case study, and then I'm passing on to you, I think. Are you next?
Yes. Hi. Is this on?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. My name is Jarett, Hausske. I am one of the partners at 11 really grateful to be here. What a great way to start the day with Madonna speaking this morning. A little interesting to be talking about the creative briefs after that.
Mm-hmm.
3 children myself, it's a little grounding. I came, similar to Jess, to this industry from a business background about 11 years ago. Very attracted to this industry because I felt like this is an industry that rewards innovation and idealism and rule breaking. I think we're all attracted to that. I think that's why we got here, is to, the minute a norm is set, we say, well, we have to test that, or a process is codified. And because of that, for the 11 years I've been in this industry, I've had a love-hate relationship relationships with briefs, and just the idea of brief. Mainly because I feel like we talk a lot about how we're the post-advertising and we're all doing bigger things, yet I feel like we have this brief format and this template that I see a lot of planners use, that we act like comms agencies, but we want to be innovation agencies. And when I look at just for 11 in the last year or two, the kind of challenges that walk in the door. So a car account just asking us to reimagine the dealer experience globally, or a startup. We have a startup that is 3 years from launching that we're being embedded into their innovation process, or a 100-year-old company with 60,000 employees that needs to rethink their place in the world and their brand. The idea that the kind of 7 or 8, questions or boxes on a brief is going to answer all those challenges is a little bit kind of foolish. So the way we look at briefs is actually very similar to what Jess was saying. We really don't have a set process or a template, just like a lot of the creatives. I think there's a lot of creatives here are open to be pretty free. We allow our strategists as well to be kind of grown-ups and be free and find their own path, as long as they're true to the mission of a brief, which is to aggregate a lot of information from the outside world into something simple and conceptual and inspiring to teams, where a bunch of ideas come out of it. So when we look at, that's not working. Yeah.
You could hear him, right?
Hear anything. It was amazing.
It was brilliant.
Yeah.
So when we think about, that is a little better. When we think about what a successful brief is, we've seen great briefs that are, taking a team through a day in the life of the consumer, or making an argument that starts with an idea, or a provocative question. So,
Right, yeah. This is falling apart, dude. Do you want me to hold something for you? Hang on.
let's get rid of that.
There we go.
So, an example of that is some work we did with a startup in Seattle, actually a startup that we took an equity stake in, and worked with Jane Park, who's the founder of a company called Julep, which is a cosmetic brand. And Jane is is an incredible spirit, is an innovator, and she has a very unique philosophy about the role of cosmetics and beauty with women. And so our core team, which was made up of female strategists, female creative directors, and a very diverse kind of team of people, came up with this question, which was, how do we inspire women to be fearless, to experiment fearlessly with their beauty and their makeup? What came of that is a platform that they're using across all of their channels called Brave Pretty. And it's kind of a different conversation about that gap of confidence that actually I think Madonna had mentioned today that exists, which we found sitting with their audience and sitting with what they call their mavens. So it's a piece of work that we're really proud of. And I think the big takeaway for me, what we try to do is, more and more our briefs are a team effort. It's a shared document by the strategists, the creatives, and the people that are working on it. And we try to land on something that feels like a shared aspiration of what we're trying to do in the world versus what we're trying to say. And that notion has allowed us to get to platforms that are much more inspirational for teams to work on. So, thank you.
Hi there. So I'm Kate Bristow. I'm a partner and the Chief Strategy Officer at Saatchi in Los Angeles. I hate to say this, going to really age me. I've been doing this for more than 3 decades. And I've done it in 3 continents. I started my career in London for about a decade, then I was in Asia Pacific for a decade, and now I've been in the States for 13 years. So clearly, over that time, things have changed quite dramatically. If for no other reason than fragmentation of media, the internet, Facebook, I mean, all the things that have changed even in the last 10 years has fundamentally changed how I do my job. But I love that because it's why I'm in this business. I'm in this business because every day I go to work and I'm going to learn something new. And not many people have that opportunity when they go to work every day. So for me, that keeps it exciting, it keeps it fresh. I thought I would share with you something that is quite recent for us. A couple of years ago, we actually acquired a digital and social media company in Los Angeles who specialize in the entertainment industry. We're in LA, Hollywood, and this particular company was very, very good at working with the studios, with TV, film, in terms of helping to promote and market those assets. What I've discovered, and it was not something I was really expecting when we bought this company, is there's been a fundamental shift in the way we as an agency actually operate because of that purchase. Because the way that they operate their briefing system is unlike anything that we have ever done up until now. It's more like sort of writer's room where people get together, they share ideas, they work out what it is that we're going to be saying, and then just create a ton of content that's actually going to go out there in the world. And that's been quite fascinating for me to really shift how I might approach my clients like Epson and BMW, and we've really altered the way that we work with those on account of learning from this new acquisition as to how they do it. So for me, I'm going to share one campaign from this year, which I think was particularly telling in terms of how they do things and the impact that they have on the world. One of our clients is FX, and we work on American Horror Story, which is obviously fantastic. And those of you that are fans of American Horror Story know that the last season was American Horror Story Hotel. So our task is obviously to market that and to get the fans excited about each episode as it's coming along. So what we decided to do was to really get people into the hotel. It's a great location. We're going to get fans into the whole story. So we created different graphics, check-in graphics, luggage tags, do not disturb, notices, etc. And we live tweeted every single episode for a few hours before the episode, while the episode was airing, and after the episode, which basically means we have a team working for probably 6 hours, because obviously the episode it airs on the East Coast 3 hours before it airs on the West Coast. So we literally had to keep going for the whole late afternoon and evening. The important thing is that when fans got involved in the conversation, we would send them back by direct replies on Twitter, personalized graphics. So we would actually send back to them a personalized luggage tag with their Twitter handle, or a personalized check-in card. And people got so excited about it. Every time we tweeted one back, we had scores of fans directly contacting, saying, I want one, do me next. So, we really sort of got the whole fan base very excited. This we did for the entire season, and we kept introducing new graphics and new content every single episode that was relevant to the episode that was coming up. So what this, I think, taught me, this particular campaign and all the other campaigns we've done with this company, is that for 30 years, I would say, and I'm going to admit now a mea culpa, for 30 years, I think we've been shouting at people and forcing them to have a conversation with us, interrupting them, disrupting them in their daily lives, because we kind of knew that they weren't necessarily that interested in what we had to say. So the only way we could do that was by shouting at them. And I think now the new world means that we actually need to just be part of the conversation, enhance the conversation, take part in the conversation where our fans are, literally. And if you do that, and if you add meaning to the conversation, and if you make the conversation better, then people obviously will be willing to engage with you. And they certainly were in this particular campaign. So again, I have learned from this that I can do the same with all my other clients. We are bringing these kind of processes and these learnings to how I would do a campaign for the San Diego Zoo, how I would do a campaign for Epson, how I would do a campaign for Vizio. And that is not something, I would argue, that we were doing even 2 years ago. It's exciting, it's harder, but for me it's absolutely essential if we're going to stay meaningful.
Hello. Hey everybody, my name is Josh DiMarcantonio. I'm a partner and executive creative director at Zambezi in Los Angeles. I just want to say thanks to 3% for having us. This is such a cool conference and such a great cause and reason to be here. I'll quickly go through my examples so we can get to answering your questions, because I agree, I think that'll be the more interesting part of this all. And I just wanted to talk quickly about a new client that we had at Zambezi. It was a luxury brand hotel in Vegas. It's the Venetian Hotel. And they came to us, and they had really never done any sort of marketing before that, above the line, any kind of full campaign. And when they came to us, they had two kind of things they specifically wanted. They wanted, one, to be different than the other luxury brands that were out there in the marketplace, and two, they of course wanted to be different than other Vegas hotels that were out there. So, from those two kind of assertions, we went and kind of collaborating with strategy, creative, and took a deep dive into all of kind of the marketplace that was going on with luxury brands. And it was interesting. We quickly realized that most luxury brands really were trying to transform, or asking you as a customer to transform into something else with their brand. So, they wanted you to be something different, or promise that you could be something different with their brand. And we thought there's a great opportunity there to, instead of, asking people to transform, to actually celebrate who our customers or who our guests already were. So we loved that kind of area to play in. And so, from there, we just started to think about our guests at the hotel, and they were already this colorful array of interesting individuals. And we thought, maybe it's just Venetian instead as the place where all these people can gather together, that this is the place that they can come together as one, which led to our strategic insight, which I really liked, which was the Venetian hotels where interesting individuals gather. And from that insight, we created the campaign, Come As You Are, which was our main tagline, the line that ran across all our media. And it sort of did exactly that. It told people that, you could be yourself, that all you needed to bring to the hotel was your personality and who you were. And that was enough for us. And then to kind of really address the different hotel Vegas marketing, and I was out there, we made a concerted effort to not focus on the hotel ever, not focus on the amenities of the hotel, no casino room floors, nothing like that. Instead, we chose to just really focus on the people that we kind of aspired to have stay there, and the different personalities that they had. And then I have kind of, I don't know if it's insight as much as just something I sort of remind myself pretty much like half a dozen times a day, is that I do really believe that honesty in the work and in our industry is more important today than ever before. I just think that people are smarter than ever before, and they call us on our bullshit, and we should call ourselves on our own when we don't feel like something is genuine or that it resonates. I think we did well with the Venetian to recognize early that, you know, we can't transform somebody just because they're staying at a hotel. You know, that doesn't make you a different person. But, you know, I just think that it's a good thing to remind ourselves that we are consumers, you know, and when we're marketing, we're still consumers.
I think that's we're going to sort of a big question, like we want to sort of blow this up and hear from you guys a little bit. The thing about honesty being in your work, I have a friend whose test of a good brief is, can you read it to someone on the street without them wanting to punch you in the face? And I'm just like, it is astonishing how many fail that test. Like really kind of, you know, there was one, my partner, Tom, who I sort of run the department with, he was saying that the worst insight he ever had, and like he ever saw in a brief, was teenagers like to personalize and customize their snacks. And he's like, have you met a teenager? Like, do you know what they're doing? None of them are personalizing snacks right now. That's not what they're doing. And like this whole, so like, and if you said to someone on the street, oh, you know, can you just have a look at this? Teenagers like to personalize and customize their snacks. They would punch you in the face. They would be right to do so. Because of that lack of honesty, like, and you see people disappearing from briefs all the time.
And thank you
Thank
for
you.
asking the
Yeah, you
question.
guys have been great.
Thank you for coming.